So let's begin. Number 1, a black hole tearing a star apart. You might think black holes are just dark traps that swallow everything and disappear back into the void. Not exactly. Sometimes they pull an entire blazing star in just close enough, then use gravity itself to bend it, stretch it, and rip it into glowing streams of fire. Astronomers call this a tidal disruption event, which is a strangely clinical name for an execution in deep space. A black hole does not pull on every part of a star with the same force. The side closer to it gets yanked harder. The far side is held less tightly. That difference alone is enough to destroy an object as massive as a star. It begins to warp, then stretch out like taffy, twisted to its breaking point before exploding into white-hot streams of plasma, whipping around the black hole at insane speeds. Some of that material gets flung back out into space. The rest falls into a superheated accretion disk and burns so brightly that telescopes millions of light-years away can still detect it. A death so bright that the distant universe can watch its final trace burn away. What stays with you is the silence around it. A star has just been torn to pieces, and the rest of the galaxy keeps turning cold and indifferent as if nothing happened. The black hole does not need to chase anything down. It only has to wait for something to drift too close, then turn its light into one last spiral around a mouth that gives nothing back. If our sun ever wandered into that kind of trap, there would be no last-minute escape, no heroic farewell, no second chance. Just an entire solar system ground down into blazing debris, suspended around a darkness so deep that even light cannot turn back. Number 2. Gamma-ray bursts are the sniper shot that can wipe out an entire planet. Picture an ordinary morning. The city is still lit up, someone is making coffee, and someone else never gets the chance to reply to their last text. Then billions of light-years away, a massive star dies, or two neutron stars crush into each other, and out of that collapse, the universe fires off a narrow beam of gamma radiation, moving so fast that light is basically just delivering the message. If Earth happens to be standing in the crosshairs, the sentence could arrive before the warning. A gamma-ray burst does not explode outward in every direction like a normal blast. It funnels its energy into tight beams of radiation like the barrel of a gun. In just a few seconds, it can release more energy than the sun will produce over billions of years. Space telescopes have recorded these flashes appearing and disappearing from unimaginable distances. Astronomers know this is not some made-up cosmic nightmare because they have actually seen bursts so brief and so bright that they outshine entire galaxies. If one of those beams sweeps across our atmosphere, the ozone layer could be stripped away, the sky could lose its shield, ultraviolet radiation from the sun could pour down onto the surface, food chains could collapse, and life could be pushed into a die-off with no way back. There is no monster to look at, no roar, no alien planet is showing up in the sky as a warning. Just an invisible beam cutting through the dark, and on the other end, a world suddenly has a different future. Some scientists suspect a gamma-ray burst in the distant past may have contributed to one of Earth's extinction events. That idea alone makes the night sky feel different. Somewhere out there, there may once have been a world with oceans, clouds, and living things looking up at the sky only to vanish because the universe happened to aim the barrel in the right direction. Number 3, a star devouring its own planet. In some parts of the universe, the end of the world does not arrive as an explosion. It arrives as a meal. Picture a planet that has circled its star for millions of years, one orbit after another, as if that path would last forever. Then one day the star begins to swell. Not suddenly, not violently, just slowly growing larger like a fire spreading across an entire room. A distance that once meant safety suddenly means nothing. The planet's sky grows brighter, hotter, until that familiar orbit turns into the final road leading straight into the star's mouth. This is no longer just a science fiction idea. Astronomers have observed signs of a real star actually swallowing a planet. An entire world can disappear, not because of war, not because of an asteroid, but because the thing it spent its whole existence circling suddenly becomes its executioner. When the planet plunges into the star's outer layers, it does not fall the way a rock drops into water. It churns through gas heats to incandescence, gets torn apart, loses its orbit, and dissolves into a blazing sea of plasma. The entire history of that world, every ocean, every mountain, everything that ever existed on its surface is ground down into fuel for the fire consuming it. The sky starts to feel more personal than anyone would like, because this is not a story about some alien monster lurking at the far edge of the galaxy. This is a story about a star and its planet. A bond that seemed stable, familiar, almost permanent right up until even the most faithful orbit could no longer save the thing trapped inside it. Out there are worlds that have spent too long circling the very thing that will eventually burn them alive, and in the final moment their skies do not go dark. They brighten until there is nowhere left to hide. Number 4. Magnetars, the stars that can tear atoms apart. Not everything in the universe has to come charging at you to kill you. Some things only need to be close enough, and suddenly all the rules you trust start falling apart. A magnetar is one of those things. It is the leftover core of a massive star after it dies, but do not let the word leftover fool you. This is not some cold, harmless remnant. This is a chunk of matter with the mass of the sun crushed into a sphere only a few dozen kilometers across, then locked inside a magnetic field so powerful it almost sounds like a glitch in reality. If Earth's magnetic field is like an umbrella in the rain, a magnetar is the kind of storm that can warp matter itself. Get too close and you do not need to touch the surface, fall into a pit, or burn up in any familiar way. Its magnetic field is so intense that it can distort the electron clouds around atoms. Things that seem solid suddenly become fragile, as if nature itself has forgotten how to hold them together. Scientists did not just dream this up on paper. Telescopes have recorded magnetar outbursts, flashes erupting from these tiny objects with enough force to make an entire galaxy pay attention. And a magnetar does not just sit there like a silent corpse. Its ultra-dense crust can crack like an earthquake tearing through the remains of a dead sun. When that happens, energy blasts through space as X-rays and gamma rays, as if the corpse is still twitching long after death. You will not see teeth. You will not hear a roar. No monster steps out of the dark. Just a small, dark, impossibly dense sphere hanging in space, carrying a magnetic field powerful enough to make matter forget how to keep being matter. Number 5. Killer asteroids and comets. The universe does not always need black holes or radiation beams stretching across billions of light years to wipe out a world. Sometimes all it has to do is throw one rock at the right time in the right place at the right speed. That may sound a little disrespectful to the apocalypse, but the last time Earth took a hit like that, the dinosaurs barely had time to schedule a meeting. About 66 million years ago, an object roughly 10 kilometers wide slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact did more than carve out a massive crater. It ignited wildfires, unleashed tsunamis, and blasted so much dust into the sky that sunlight was choked off. Scientists traced the Chicxulub crater and the extinction record to piece that story together. One rock from space and an entire dynasty of dinosaurs was nearly erased from history. No monster required, no curse. Just one perfectly aimed throw from the universe. The problem is that the story did not end with the dinosaurs. Astronomers still track thousands of near-Earth objects because there are countless asteroids and comets out there crossing our orbital neighborhood. Many are spotted early. Others slip by and are only noticed afterward, like the universe rang the doorbell and only let the security camera catch it later. And it does not take a planet-sized rock to turn into a disaster. Something only a few dozen to a few hundred meters across is already enough to turn an entire city into a blazing memory. Comets are even worse. They come from farther away, move faster, and usually give us less time to prepare. You can think of one as a bullet made of ice and rock, beautiful enough to photograph right up until you remember it might be aimed at your house. The dinosaurs once had a very bad day. The universe never promised that kind of day could not happen again. Number 6. Spider pulsars, dead stars draining their companions dry. If you think toxic relationships on Earth are exhausting, the universe has a version that is so much worse. Picture a dead star collapsed into a tiny, ultra-dense pulsar, spinning like crazy, and still refusing to let its neighbor live in peace. Instead of quietly cooling off, it starts blasting particle winds and intense radiation at the companion star orbiting beside it, stripping it away layer by layer, chunk by chunk, as if it is slowly feeding on the thing forced to live with it. Astronomers gave these systems names like Black Widow and Redback, which sound more like comic book villains than cosmic crime scenes, but the description is disturbingly accurate. Pulsars are already strange enough on their own. They are the remnants of stars that exploded long ago, leaving behind dense cores that spin continuously and sweep beams of radiation across space like lighthouses from hell. But in some systems, that is not where the story ends. X-ray and radio telescopes have recorded systems where a pulsar is actively eroding its companion star. Scientists have seen matter being blasted away, orbits being distorted, and light changing in ways that reveal the neighboring star is literally losing pieces of itself. This is not some poetic metaphor. This is a stellar corpse slowly consuming the star next door. The victim does not disappear in a single flash. It gets peeled apart over time as if the universe has decided to drag the scene out. Streams of material are ripped from its surface, whipped into hot gas, and then either scattered into space or pulled toward the pulsar. In some systems, the companion has been stripped down so severely that only a small fraction of its original mass remains, like a skeleton made of light still trying to orbit the thing killing it. There are no screams in a vacuum, no blood, no dramatic Hollywood explosion. Just a relationship that lasts long enough for one star to slowly turn the other into dust. Number 7. Solar superstorms. We tend to think of the sun as something friendly. It rises on schedule, warms the planet, keeps plants alive, and makes outdoor photos need a little less editing. But that calm golden disk is not just the lamp of the solar system. It is a giant nuclear reactor, and every now and then it gets angry in a way that reminds modern civilization just how dependent it is on electricity. Sometimes the sun unleashes violent solar flares along with massive clouds of charged particles hurled straight into space. If Earth happens to be in the path, our planet's magnetic field takes the hit. In the sky, what you might see is an aurora so beautiful it feels unreal. Down on the ground, things get a lot less poetic. Satellites start glitching. Communications turn unreliable. GPS begins acting like it is panicking too. Power grids overload. A normal day suddenly becomes millions of people staring at dead screens. This is not some made-up disaster scenario. In 1859, the Carrington event sent sparks flying from telegraph systems, set equipment on fire, and lit up the night sky so brightly people could read newspapers under the aurora. Back then, humanity had not yet wired its entire life into the internet. Satellite servers and power lines stretched across the planet. Scientists now monitor solar activity very closely because they know a storm strong enough would not just paint the sky. It could shake the modern world hard. The unsettling part is that the threat is not hiding at the edge of the galaxy, buried inside a black hole, or racing across millions of light years to reach us. It is right here. It shines through your window every morning, dries your clothes, makes you complain about the heat, and could still decide one day to remind us that the electrical outlet on the wall is a lot more fragile than we like to believe. Number 8. 2 neutron stars are colliding, a kilonova. Some collisions in the universe do not feel like accidents. They feel like an execution that was set in motion a very long time ago. Neutron stars are the leftover cores of massive stars, chunks of matter with the mass of the sun crushed into spheres only a few dozen kilometers wide. Picture an entire sun compressed so tightly that a spoonful of it would make everything on Earth seem small. Then take 2 of those things and lock them into a dance that gets faster and tighter with every turn. At first, they orbit each other like 2 invisible blades. Every pass drains more energy and pulls them closer until space itself starts to tremble around them. Scientists actually caught that tremor. In 2017, gravitational wave observatories recorded the signal of 2 neutron stars spiraling into each other. Not long after, telescopes around the world saw a burst of light flare up from that exact spot. A kilonova does not explode like fireworks. It flashes like the universe just smashed 2 impossibly dense stellar cores together and hurled the remains across space. Light radiation and white-hot matter blast outward at terrifying speed, violent enough to create gold and platinum, which means there is a very real chance that a ring sitting quietly in a velvet box began at a scene no one would ever want to stand near. There is no ground to shake, no sky to turn red. Just 2 stellar remnants slamming into each other, a flash tearing through the dark, and the fabric of space-time wrinkling as if someone had grabbed the structure of the universe and squeezed. Out there, familiar ideas about matter, heat, and pressure are barely holding together if they still count at all. Number 9. Rogue planets drifting through the dark. Planets are supposed to stay close to a star, get a little light, a little warmth, and keep circling it as if every orbit was written in advance. But out there, some planets do not have a home anymore. They were kicked out of their star systems by chaotic collisions or the gravity of gas giants, and ever since they have been drifting alone through space with no sunrise, no sunset, and no sun rising over any horizon. Just darkness stretching on and on like someone switched off the sky and walked away. This is not just an idea that sounds good in science fiction. Astronomers have identified rogue planet candidates through microlensing when a dark object passes in front of a distant star and bends its light. The method sounds a bit like trying to catch a thief by noticing the shadow moving across a curtain, but it has been enough to tell scientists that there really are worlds out there that orbit no star at all. Some research teams even estimate that their numbers in the Milky Way could be enormous. A planet like that is almost invisible. It does not shine on its own, it barely reflects anything, and it does not exactly wave hello as it passes by. If one of these worlds is drifting through the dark between stars, nobody would know it was there. Its surface could be frozen as hard as iron, but deep below heat from the core or geological activity might still keep water in liquid form. That means there could be underground oceans out there that have never seen sunlight. And if life exists in them, it would grow up never knowing what a blue sky is and probably would not care much about sunbathing anyway. So an entire world just keeps moving through the universe like that cold dark and almost completely lost in the void. Number 10. A supernova close enough to damage Earth. Some stars do not die quietly. Not the kind of loud that makes the neighbors bang on the wall, but the kind that explodes and throws light, radiation, and matter into space like the universe just decided to cross a sun off the list. Most of those explosions happen far enough away that we can look up, be amazed for a moment, and then go right back to our lives. But if a supernova goes off close enough, the prettier the sky gets, the more Earth may have to pay for it. A massive star does not go gently. When its core collapses, the outer layers are blasted outward with staggering energy, creating an explosion so bright it can outshine an entire galaxy for a while. Astronomers have been observing supernovas for a long time, recording their expanding remnants like glowing wounds left hanging in space. They have also found traces of iron-60 in deep-sea sediment, something many scientists see as a clue that Earth may have been relatively close to a few stellar explosions in the distant past. Not close enough to end everything, but close enough to make the sky feel a little less harmless. If a supernova detonates within the wrong cosmic distance, the ozone layer could be damaged, cosmic radiation could increase, and the atmosphere could start taking hits that are anything but polite. The light from the blast could brighten the night sky for weeks, which sounds almost poetic until you remember that it means a star just turned itself into everyone's problem. Plants, marine life, food chains, and climate could all get dragged into the fallout. On paper, that is astrophysics. In real life, it is the kind of situation where an entire planet ends up staring at the same bright point in the sky and wishing it were a little farther away. And that is still only a tiny fraction of what is actually out there. Black holes tearing stars apart, gamma-ray bursts that can wipe out entire worlds, rogue planets drifting through the dark like cosmic ghosts, and even our own sun getting angry badly enough to knock out civilization's power. The universe is beautiful, vast, and awe-inspiring, but it is also cold enough not to care whether we are looking up at it or not. And maybe that is what makes it so hard to forget. Out of all 10 of these, which one disturbed you the most? Drop it in the comments below. I really want to know what feels most terrifying to you: black holes, solar storms, or a lonely world drifting through endless darkness. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. See you in the next video.